Welcome to the release news video for WUDSN IDE 1.6.4. This release was mainly a bug fix release, so there's a long list of bugs fixed after the major feature release. I won't go into the details of the fixes, I will only focus on the few new features that were added. So first set of features refers to the editor. There, when you press CTRL-SPACE, you know you have the list of directives, and while you are typing you can also narrow down this list, and when you press enter the suggestion is taken over into the source code. Now there are a number of directives that have a corresponding end part, and what has been added is that, for example, if you have a procedure and you use the auto-completion, it will automatically add the RTS and the end procedure, so you can define your procedure here. And similarly, if you have a local area, then automatically the end local will be added if you use the auto-completion. Next is if you use include files and your project has reached a certain certain complexity, so you want to put some part of the source code into an include file, then you can just define the include file here, which of course by now does not exist, and now I want to move the procedure to the include file. What I can do is I can now press Ctrl and hover over the name, and if I click now, then you will be prompted to create the file because it does not yet exist, so I can just go and create it and put the procedure there. Okay, then last release the parsing of errors in include files was improved. So if I create an error now here by, let's say, loading a value that is just too large, and I compile the main file, then you see the include file is automatically opened, and the positioning is sent to the error location. And what is better now is that if in these include file paths you could have like relative paths, and still this works, and you could even have operating system specific path that depends now on the assembler, and now the comparison of the file path, of the effective file path, is normalized. So no matter which part of separator you use, the positioning towards the error should work fine now. With 1.6.3, Apple II was added as supported hardware, and now in the section of the Apple II emulators, there's one more emulator, it's the Virtua 2 emulator that has been added here by default. And the only thing left apart from the fixes is that the help was updated. So in the FAQ there are 3 new sections, all referring to the how do I compile. So first one is how do I compile into ROM images. So by default most platforms have a standard executable format, and if you compile you will get a plain executable file you can load from a kind of DOS. But sometimes, especially on the Atari or on an NES, you would want to create ROM files, so you can burn them on cartridges or run them in the emulator. So there's a section on that. Similarly, if you have more complex projects, you don't only need a single file maybe, but you may need additional files to be loaded from that file, like a char set or texts that you want to have as separate files. And if you want to do that on the real hardware or on an emulator, then you need to put multiple files onto one disk image. So you would not only want to compile the executable, but also put it on a disk image. There's the description how this is done. And the last one is for even more complex things. You may want to not only compile and then start the emulator, but have some, let's say, post-processing to the compilation. Maybe put additional files into multiple images, run a converter, and then run the ultimate result in the emulator only. And there's a description how you can do that. So let's quickly look into these sections. So here is a description how to compile into ROM images, how you disable the corresponding file headers and enable this ROM mode that some of the assemblers support. Then compiling to disk images. Disk images are platform specific, and therefore also the description here is platform specific for Atari 8-bit. There is a download provided, and this section about make scripts. This download contains the tools from HIAS, the Atari Zio tools, which allow you to create a DOS disk with a bootable DOS disk of different DOS formats from a folder that contains multiple files. And similarly, there is a built-in support that I showed already in the last video for Apple II, where certain output formats like the binary format, the program format, and the XEX format are detected if the platform is an Apple II, and automatically the disk file is created with the corresponding start addresses. Yeah, and for other platforms, then normally a tool like Dir2ATR can be used, or your own script. And here is the section how you can write your own script and add the script to the IDE instead of a compiler. Basically what you have here is you have this user-defined application, and in the section of the user-defined application you can specify the path to the command processor, and in the command line you specify the path to the corresponding batch file, and you put in there the variables that are supported here. Yeah, that's it. So a rather short one, but be sure the next one will be longer. See you.